In the quiet, sun-drenched suburbs of Southern California, a love story was unfolding. It had all the familiar hallmarks of a modern romance: a happy couple, beaming wedding photos, the promise of a shared future. But beneath this idyllic surface, a darker narrative was taking shape, one delivered through the cold, impersonal glow of a smartphone screen. A single vibration, a notification, and then a cascade of threatening emails. The messages were relentless and terrifying, painting a picture of a dangerous obsession that had spiraled out of control. Suddenly, the serene suburban streets were pierced by the flashing red and blue lights of police cars, shattering the peace and signaling that a line had been irrevocably crossed. The sequence of events that followed seemed straightforward, a clear case of harassment escalating to a credible threat. Law enforcement, responding to urgent reports of cyberstalking and a purported rape fantasy plot, moved swiftly. The investigation pointed to one person, Michelle Hadley, the ex-fiancée of the man at the center of the new marriage. Handcuffs were clicked into place, a booking photo was taken, a narrative was cemented in the public consciousness. News headlines blared, branding Hadley as a spurned lover turned vindictive stalker. Everyone believed they knew who the villain was. It was a story that seemed to write itself, tapping into familiar tropes of jealousy and revenge. For Michelle Hadley, the arrest was the beginning of a waking nightmare. She lost her freedom, her reputation, and her sense of security, all in an instant. She was held on a $1 million bail, facing charges that could have sent her to prison for life. The public, fed a steady diet of alarming allegations, largely accepted the official story. She was the jilted ex, a cautionary tale for the digital age. But as the wheels of justice began to turn, a strange thing happened. The evidence, once thought to be so clear-cut, started to tell a completely different story. It was a story that would challenge everything the investigators, the public, and the media thought they knew. This case is more than just a tale of a relationship gone wrong. It is a complex examination of deception in our digital world. It forces us to ask difficult questions about how we perceive truth and accusation online. What happens when the very tools we use to connect are weaponized to create an elaborate, malicious fiction? This story peels back the layers of a shocking crime, revealing how a woman could lose everything for a crime she did not commit. It is a journey into a toxic love story, where the real villain remained hidden in plain sight, masterfully manipulating the narrative until the digital evidence finally spoke the truth, long after the damage had been done. To fully comprehend the complexities of this case, it is essential to establish a clear framework for understanding the information presented. Michelle Hadley, Angela Connell, Ian Diaz, a tangled web of allegations, digital trails, and legal proceedings. Therefore, we must meticulously separate confirmed facts from unproven allegations, public reporting from official court findings, and personal opinions from the documented evidence. This account is built exclusively on a foundation of verified public information, drawing from court records, official statements released by law enforcement agencies, and extensive reporting from reputable news organizations. This commitment is not merely a journalistic standard, it is the only way to navigate a story so defined by deliberate falsehoods. The narrative began with a series of alarming reports made to the police. Angela Connell, the new wife of U.S. Marshal Ian Diaz, claimed she was the victim of a terrifying online harassment campaign. She presented emails and online posts that appeared to be from Michelle Hadley, Ian's former fiancée. These messages contained vicious insults, threats of violence, and even solicitations for sexual assault posted on Craigslist. Based on these initial reports, law enforcement built a case. The digital evidence on its surface seemed to corroborate Angela's claims, leading directly to Michelle Hadley's arrest in the summer of 2016. At this stage, the story was presented to the public as a straightforward case of cyberstalking. However, the true story is not about the initial arrest, but about what happened next. It is about the painstaking work of investigators who began to notice inconsistencies in the digital footprint. This is where the narrative takes a dramatic and unexpected turn. As detectives delved deeper into the metadata, IP addresses, and digital forensics, the foundation of the case against Michelle Hadley started to crumble. The evidence began to point not toward an obsessed ex-girlfriend, but in a direction that was, at the time, unthinkable. It suggested a sophisticated and manipulative frame-up, orchestrated with chilling precision to destroy an innocent person's life. This essay will reconstruct the timeline of events as they unfolded, from the initial romance to the shocking legal conclusion. We will introduce the key individuals involved, detail the threats as they were reported, and explain the basis for Michelle Hadley's arrest. Crucially, we will then pivot to the investigation that unraveled the entire plot, presenting the court findings that led to the exoneration of one woman and the criminal convictions of 2 other people. By adhering strictly to the public record, we aim to present a definitive account of how the truth was not just hidden, but actively buried under a mountain of lies, and how it was ultimately unearthed. Part 2, Act 1, A New Relationship. Section 1, A Promising Beginning. Section 2, The Fracture. Section 3, A New Chapter, A New Wife. Section 4, Overlapping Timelines. Every story has a beginning, and this one starts not with malice, but with a romance that held all the promise of a bright future. Michelle Hadley, a young and ambitious woman building her life in Orange County, California, met Ian Diaz, a U.S. Marshal. Their relationship, which began around 2013, was by many accounts a serious one. They connected over shared interests and aspirations, and soon their lives became deeply intertwined. Public records and later news reports would piece together a timeline of a committed partnership. They moved in together, sharing a home and building a life that appeared from the outside to be stable and loving. The relationship progressed steadily over the next 2 years, culminating in an engagement. For a time, their future seemed set. An engagement signifies a promise, a formal step toward a lifetime together, and there was little to suggest their path would be any different. They were, in essence, a typical couple navigating the journey from dating to marriage. Friends and family saw them as a unit, a pair destined for the altar. Details from public reporting suggest they were actively planning their wedding, looking at venues, and discussing the finer points of the life they would create. This period was characterized by the normal rhythms of a long-term relationship moving toward a permanent commitment, a far cry from the chaos and suspicion that would later engulf them. The image of Ian Diaz as a federal law enforcement officer likely added a layer of stability and security to the relationship in the eyes of many. A career in law enforcement often implies a certain character, dependable, protective, and committed to upholding the law. Their life together in the suburbs of Southern California was a portrait of upward mobility and conventional happiness. They were nesting, creating a shared world that seemed insulated from the kind of turmoil that would eventually tear it apart. It is crucial to remember this starting point, this foundation of normalcy and affection, to fully grasp the shocking deviation their story would later take. This period, lasting roughly from 2013 to late 2015, stands in stark contrast to the events that followed. It represents the before, a time when the names Michelle Hadley and Ian Diaz were linked by love and partnership, not by accusations and court filings. The relationship was not a fleeting affair, but a significant multi-year commitment that included cohabitation and a formal engagement. Understanding the depth of this connection is fundamental to understanding the narrative that would be constructed later. The end of this relationship would not just be a simple breakup. It would become the inciting incident for a meticulously crafted plot of deception and revenge. By the end of 2015, the promising relationship between Michelle Hadley and Ian Diaz had fractured. The reasons for the end of their engagement, like in many breakups, are complex and private. Publicly available information does not offer a definitive, single cause for their separation. News timelines show one clear fact: the wedding plan was called off. The couple went their separate ways. Breakups after long engagements and cohabitation are rarely clean. Shared possessions to divide, social circles to navigate, the emotional weight of a future that has suddenly been erased. For Michelle and Ian, this was true. Michelle Hadley moved out of the home they had shared. They began disentangling their lives. Ian Diaz did not remain single for long. Almost immediately after his engagement to Michelle Hadley ended, he began a new relationship. The woman who entered his life was Angela Connell, who also went by the name Angela Diaz after their marriage. According to court records and news reports, their romance moved at a remarkable speed. While Michelle was still processing the end of her own long-term partnership with Ian, he was already embarking on a new one. This rapid transition would become a central element in the unfolding drama, and it created a volatile emotional landscape that would be expertly manipulated. The relationship between Ian and Angela escalated quickly. They began dating in early 2016, just weeks after Ian and Michelle had officially separated. Angela moved into the same home Ian had previously shared with Michelle. By February 2016, Ian and Angela were engaged, and by June 2016, they were married. Angela Connell, now Angela Diaz, was pregnant at the time of their wedding. That added intensity and permanence to their new life together. They were a newly married couple, expectant parents, building a family at an accelerated pace. From the outside, it looked like true love after a failed relationship. A happy ending for Ian, a new beginning for Angela. The new family unit, Ian, the pregnant Angela, their shared home, became the focal point of the story Angela would tell the police. It was this picture of domestic bliss she claimed was under attack. The timelines of these two relationships, one ending and one beginning, did not just follow one another, they overlapped in a way that created confusion and tension. While Michelle Hadley was still dealing with the logistical and emotional loose ends of her breakup with Ian Diaz, he was already fully immersed in his new life with Angela Connell. According to reports citing court documents, there was still some communication between Michelle and Ian during this period, often related to unresolved financial matters, or the return of personal property. These interactions, however mundane, would later be recontextualized by prosecutors as evidence of Michelle's inability to move on from the relationship. At the same time, according to reporting by The New Yorker, Angela herself sent a series of taunting messages to Michelle, flaunting her new relationship with Ian. This created a tangled web of communication where it was not immediately clear who was the aggressor and who was the victim. It paints a picture not of a one-sided obsession, but of a hostile dynamic between the two women, with Ian Diaz positioned squarely in the middle. The overlapping timelines and early disputes created the perfect smokescreen for a far more sinister deception. Beginning in early 2016, just as Ian Diaz and Angela Connell were celebrating their new engagement, a series of disturbing digital communications began to surface. Angela reported to law enforcement that she was the target of a relentless and frightening harassment campaign. The messages, which she claimed were coming from various online accounts, were filled with vitriol, derogatory language, body-shaming insults, and accusations aimed at destabilizing her new life with Ian. According to police reports and subsequent news coverage by outlets like the Orange County Register, the emails were deeply personal and designed to cause maximum emotional distress, portraying Angela as an unfit partner and future mother. These communications, as described in court documents, appeared to be from Michelle Hadley, using email addresses that incorporated Michelle's name. The messages explicitly referenced Michelle's past relationship with Ian, which lent an immediate, albeit superficial, credibility to the claim that she was the perpetrator. The narrative being woven was that of a woman consumed by jealousy, lashing out at the person who had taken her place. The initial threats, while alarming, were primarily verbal assaults. They were designed to psychologically torment Angela, to make her feel watched, judged, and unwelcome in her own life. As the spring of 2016 progressed, the nature of the threats reported by Angela Connell took a dark and violent turn. The campaign of terror reached its shocking apex with the discovery of a series of ads posted on Craigslist. These were not typical classifieds, they were sinister solicitations. The ads invited men to Angela's home to act out a rape fantasy. The posts provided her address. They described her daily routine. They gave instructions for strangers to force themselves on her, even if she screamed or resisted. This was the most terrifying escalation yet, moving from threats to an attempt to orchestrate a real-world assault. Several men, responding to these posts, actually showed up at Ian and Angela's home in Anaheim Hills. IP addresses used to post some of the ads were traced back to locations and to her condominium complex, while digital forensics would later reveal spoofing and manipulation. At the time, the IP evidence seemed like a smoking gun. On the morning of June 24, 2016, Michelle Hadley's life was irrevocably altered. Anaheim police officers arrived with an arrest warrant. Michelle was handcuffed and led from her home. She faced multiple felony counts, including stalking with a credible threat, and attempted forcible rape. The court set Michelle's bail at an astonishing $1 million. For 88 days, Michelle Hadley's world shrank to the size of a jail cell. While Michelle Hadley languished in jail, her family refused to accept the narrative. They scraped together their resources and hired a new defense attorney, Michael Guisti. He began his work not by trying to disprove the evidence against Michelle, but by examining the source of the accusations, Angela Connell. What they uncovered was a history that raised immediate red flags. Angela had a pattern of making extreme and often false allegations in the past. Armed with this new knowledge, Guisti approached the Orange County District Attorney's Office and presented his findings. Prosecutors tasked their own digital forensics experts. They investigated IP spoofing, a technique that disguises a user's true location. The breakthrough came when investigators traced the true origin of some messages. Bypassing layers of deception, they found the harassment campaign was not from Michelle's devices or network. Instead, the evidence pointed directly to Angela Connell. Digital forensics showed Angela orchestrated the campaign. She sent the threatening emails. She crafted the vicious messages. She posted the horrifying Craigslist ads. Under the weight of this evidence, Angela's story collapsed. According to official court records, she admitted to fabricating the entire harassment campaign. But the deception did not end with Angela. Ian Diaz, the U.S. Marshal and Angela's husband, had also played a role. Court documents later revealed that he had sent some of the harassing messages himself, pretending they were from Michelle, and had actively participated in misleading investigators. The man who had presented himself as a protective husband and a victim was, in fact, a co-conspirator in the plot to frame his ex-fiancée. On January 9, 2017, the Orange County District Attorney's Office formally moved to dismiss all charges against her. She was a free and innocent woman. The district attorney, Tony Rakakis, now had to publicly reverse his position. He expressed regret for the ordeal Michelle had endured. In 2018, Angela Connell pleaded guilty. The kidnapping charge reflected Michelle's 88 days of lost liberty. Angela was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Ian Diaz pleaded guilty to misdemeanors. His plea led to probation. He was fired from his U.S. Marshal post. In 2021, Michelle's civil case concluded. The city of Anaheim agreed to a settlement. They paid Michelle nearly $700,000. The case of Michelle Hadley serves as a chilling and cautionary tale for our digital age, exposing profound vulnerabilities in our justice system. Sometimes the truth isn't hidden because nobody can find it. It's hidden because everyone believes the wrong story.